everybody. It's time for another edition of Bacon in Your Jammies. Today we're going to be making rhubarb pie. Rhubarb is abundant everywhere at this time of the year, and if you don't have rhubarb, ask around. Many of your neighbors have rhubarb, and rhubarb grows abundantly everywhere. So try to find some fresh rhubarb. Fresh is wonderful. Frozen is just about as good. So if you have lots of it, or if you have a supply, chop it up and put it in the freezer, because it does keep wonderfully, and you can use it just the same as fresh. So my recipe today is really simple. It calls for 4 cups of rhubarb, 1.5 cups of sugar, 6 tablespoons of flour, and 1 egg. And then about 1/2 stick of butter to dot it, and then our pie crust. Now here's my secret weapon. Pappy's pie crust. You cannot make it any better. I've tried. You can certainly use your favorite pie crust recipe if you have that perfected, but Pappy's pie crust is the absolute best. You can find it in the freezer section by the frozen pies and kind of by the Cool Whip area, and it comes with 4 pucks of pie crust. Take it out about an hour before you want to make it. Let it thaw, and you're ready to go. It's really yummy, and it really is a secret weapon. So I have already rolled out 2 of my pie crusts and have them ready to go in. I've prepared them in my pie pan. So you just roll them out, and I'm going to roll a couple more so you can see how to do that. And then I have one already ready to go here, and we're going to top those. So start with your thawed, not unthawed, but thawed puck of pie crust, or if you're homemade crust, if you're brave enough to do that, good for you. I have then just sprinkled my counter here with flour, and I'm going to roll this out. So just start with it in the middle, flour your rolling pin, and start to roll. And you want this to be bigger than your pie pan. So you're going to roll it and try to keep it as round as you can. That isn't easy, and it's okay if it's not perfect. So roll it out a little bit, and then flip it. Turn it and flip it. And then just keep rolling. And it's forgiving. I just stuck my thumb right through that. So in this one, I'm gonna do a lattice crust. Now, what the heck is a lattice crust? That's that crisscross pretty top that you see that looks really fancy, and it's super easy. So we're just gonna roll this out kind of in a round, kind of in a rectangle, and just cut it in about 1-inch squares. So we're gonna cut this. Alrighty, now how do I make the filling? The filling is 4 cups of rhubarb, and chop that up and put that in a bowl. And then in a separate bowl, we're going to take 1.5 cups of sugar and 6 tablespoons of flour. Mix that up. In a separate little bowl, take your egg and just beat it lightly. So you've got your egg beaten, and you've got your flour and your sugar mixed together, and then you're just gonna mix in that beaten egg. Alrighty, I'm almost ready to go here. And so I have my sugar in here, and then I'm gonna add in my 6 tablespoons of flour. I'm gonna mix that together, so that it's one. Alright, and then I'm going to take 1 egg, no shell, and take a fork and just lightly beat that. Okay, just so it's mixed up. And then I'm just going to add it to my flour and sugar mixture. So just going to mix that in till it's all mixed together. And then this is what goes over your rhubarb. So chop up your rhubarb, and the rhubarb is about, I suppose, about 1/2 inch chop on it. Just wash it. Now, if you've never used rhubarb before, you're going to pull it. So don't cut it from the bush or the rhubarb plant. Pull it. So get your hand down at the bottom of the rhubarb and pull it out. And then break off the leaf off of it, and then you're gonna chop off that. You can see the bottom part of the rhubarb that's icky. Just cut that off and then trim the top, and then just chop it up in about a 1/2 inch chop. Now, if you have really big pieces of rhubarb, you can cut it down the middle and just make your pieces a little, just kind of uniform. Alrighty, so I've mixed this together, and then I'm going to now add in my rhubarb. And about 4 cups of that, and then we're just going to coat that with the flour, sugar, egg mixture. And it doesn't have to be really well mixed. It's just give it a couple of good stirs in there, because it's all going to get mixed in when it bakes in together. Alrighty. So now I've got my filling ready to go. So had I been at the part now where I'm going to do my bottom crust, I would have rolled this out, fold it in half, and then put it in your pan like this, okay? It's going to be all uneven. This is where I take my cooking shears and I just trim this. So trim it till it's about a 1/2 inch hanging over. Does not have to be exact. Alrighty, that's just all that extra stuff that's going to get chopped away there. And you can bake that up. How many of you remember when you were a child that your mom made, if your mom made pie, that she took that extra stuff and put cinnamon sugar on it and then baked it for you and made little baby pies? Yeah, that was good. All right, so now this pie is, this shell is ready to go. I'm gonna take that filling and just add it in. All right, this is what happens when you do cooking. Okay, it plopped all over the counter here. We're gonna plop that back in. Alrighty, so I just have my sugar, flour, egg mixture, and my rhubarb. Okay, we don't get points for neatness here. Alrighty, so that's ready to go. So now I have my 2 pies ready for their topping. This one I have already dotted with butter. So you can take about a 1/2 stick of hard butter. Don't let it, I guess it's okay if it's soft, it's just easier to chop it up. So I've got it dotted with pats of butter. So I have my pats of butter here that I've already sliced for my second pie, and almost lost it again. We're just gonna pat that, dot that, I guess it's called dotting the pats. Just dot that on the top of the pie. And then we're gonna top it. Alrighty. So now we have 2 pies ready for their toppings. So earlier we made our lattice crust top. I'm gonna start with the middle of my longest pieces, and I'm gonna bring my pie in here, and I'm gonna just lay that one over the middle, okay? Then I'm gonna take my next longest piece and I'm gonna crisscross that. Now, some people just lay these all one way and then all the other way. You can do it whichever way is easiest for you, but you're gonna basket weave these. So now I'm gonna take my next piece and I'm gonna lay it over the other like this, and now we're okay with this one, crisscrossed, okay? And then I'm gonna take the next one and I'm gonna lay it across sideways. Now with this one, I have to do a little over under here. So I'm gonna take my longest piece that was in the middle and tuck that one piece over. So now I have done over under. So you don't want anybody laying next to each other on the same plane, okay? And I'm gonna take my other one and go back across the middle. And I'm over under there, but here I need to lift this one up and come under again. Alrighty, and you just keep doing that until your pie is covered. So every other one needs to go over and then under, over and under. And if it breaks, it's okay. So this one I'm gonna lift up these 2. Just kind of stretch it to the edge there. Just have to kind of adjust it so that it's even and kind of laying over the butter. Alrighty, which way am I going here? This one is going to go here, over, under, over, under. So you get the idea. Alrighty. And if you can do this while the pie crust is still as cold as it can be, then it has a less of a tendency to pull apart. Alrighty, I'm going to do one more over here. Let's see, that's an over. That one has to go under, over, under, over. Okay. Oops, I got one more. Where am I at here? That one goes under, over, under, over. Something like that. Whoop, one more. Alrighty. So that's how they come out, looking like that. Now, how do you seal the edges? So you're going to take those edges that we just put in the lattice, and you're going to come to the edge and you're going to just tuck it under. So go all the way around and tuck under what you can, just to the edge of your pie. Okay? And if you got extra, you can break some of that off or just tuck it in. It just makes for more crust there. And you just kind of, if it didn't go all the way and you can't tuck it, just pinch it there. Alrighty, so we'll just keep tucking it. So that's the first step, is just to kind of tuck that in. And then you're going to crimp it. Now, there's lots of different ways to crimp your pies, your pie shell on the edge. Some people like to use a fork. Some people just like to use their fingers. There's lots of different methods to do that. I like to just use my finger and my thumb and actually crimp it. Alrighty, so then I'm just going to take and pinch the pie crust as I go around, and I'm going to pinch it sideways. Now you can do your thumbs and do this way. You can do the sideways look. You can use a fork. It all tastes the same. You're just going to get a different look to it. So I'm going to just take mine and just pinch it about every inch, and that just gives it kind of a sideways curl to it almost. Okay, and it will just all bake together, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It's kind of sealing that on the edge. Alrighty, now the last step that we're going to do on our pie before we bake it is we're going to brush it with some milk. Now some people like to use egg wash. I just like to use milk and then dust it or sprinkle it with sugar. So I'm going to just use my basting brush, and I'm going to just take and baste a little milk all over the top of this. And it's okay, it falls in through the lattice cracks. That's a-okay. And I like to be pretty generous with that. And then I'm just going to take some regular sugar and just sprinkle pretty generously on my lattice top. Alrighty, that pie is ready to go. Now we're going to bake these pies at 425 degrees for 50 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and now roll out that second crust. So again, I'm taking my puck. I've sprinkled my flour on to my counter. A lot of people use a pastry cloth. I like to just use my counter. So again, a little noise here while I roll. And then you can just flip it. And if it gets too sticky, just put some more flour on. You don't want to have excess flour, but you can certainly, if it's sticking, add more flour. Alrighty, so now I have a round. Now you kind of can estimate how big your round is by taking your pie and saying, yep, that looks like it'll cover that just fine. So now I'm going to just take my pie crust and fold it in half and just lift it up and bring it right over and put it on top of my pie. So right in the middle there, and then fold the other half over. And then you can kind of just stretch it so that it covers your pie. Okay? Now, we have to seal this edge too. So if you have any really big pieces, you can take your cooking shears again and just trim those up. And then you're gonna take the corners or the edges here and fold them together and tuck them in. So just pick it up and fold it in and end it up right at the edge of your pie pan. Now you can use, you know, I'm using a glass. I like to bake in glass pie pans, but you can certainly use metal pie tins if you have them, or you can make this in a tart pan or whatever you've got. But we need to seal that crust. So again, take those edges and fold them together, and then we'll come around, and this one we'll do just a little bit different to show you how to that one. That's how I do that one. Alrighty, so fold and fold and fold and tuck. I feel like that should be a dance move. Alrighty, fold and tuck. Now, because this one is a solid crust, we're going to need some vent holes in it. Prior to putting it on here, I could have used a little cookie cutter and cut out sheets, or cut out holes in it. I could have, you know, that's where your pie gets really pretty, is how you want to decorate it. So in this one, I'm just going to take my knife and cut some slits in it. Some people like to do a hole in the middle. How should we do this here? I'm going to kind of just make a little star here, a little crisscross right in the middle, and then maybe a few slits around the edges. And that just allows all that steam to come out when you're baking. Some people like to use a pie bird by cutting a hole in the middle, and I actually have one. I have a little pie bird here, and if you have a hole in it, you can stick that in the middle and bake that, and then the steam comes out the middle. Kind of fun. Okay, so now on my edge here, instead of doing the pinch this way, I'm going to do my thumbs this way. So just pinch it to make a seal, and that makes just a nice little fluted edge on there. Alrighty, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one by putting some milk wash on it and sprinkling it with flour. With sugar. Sprinkle it with sugar. Now you don't have to do that part, but I just think that makes it a really yummy crust when it's got that little bit of extra sugar on it. Again, people are afraid of pies, and don't be afraid. They're so easy. Pick your filling, make that just, you know, the star of the show. Again, it's Pappy's pie crust that I'm recommending, and it's super, super easy. And remember, your fillings can be all kinds of things. We can do apple, we can do peach, we can do blueberry. Fresh is best, but we've got all kinds of great canned pie fillings too. So if that's what works for you, go for it. Alrighty, and I'm just going to sprinkle that with sugar. And these are ready to go. We're going in at 425 preheated for 50 minutes, and we'll come back with the finished product. Alrighty, our pies are just about ready to come out of the oven. I did put a cookie sheet underneath my pies when I put them in the oven, because they do tend to bubble over, and then that'll burn in your oven. So it's always a good idea to just either put a piece of foil or a cookie sheet on the rack underneath them. So they're just about ready to come out, and I've got my cooling rack here ready to go. And they're just about there we go. So let's see what our pies look like. Oh boy. They are a-bubbling. Alrighty, so here is our crust with a solid crust, and here's our beautiful lattice crust pie. They are a-bubbling. Okay. So that's rhubarb pie. Easy as pie. Just to clarify, I did use double the recipe, so each one of those 4 cups of rhubarb, 1.5 cups of sugar, 6 tablespoons of flour, 1 egg was for 1 pie. So I did 2 batches of the filling, and then I used 4 crusts of the Pappy's pie crust. So happy pie making. Let me know how yours turn out.